Here on 5 News Tonight, we've highlighted the growing dangers of so-called sexting, when people, often young people, share explicit pictures of themselves. Well, now the National Crime Agency has made a series of videos for parents and children as part of a new campaign to raise awareness. Shortly, we'll hear from Zoe Hilton from the National Crime Agency's Ceop Command. But first, here's a look at one of their videos.
After Harry shared some nude selfies with a girl from school, he was really anxious about what might happen to them. So to try and ease his worry, we looked at what we could do if any pictures did get out.
Zoe, thanks very much indeed for joining me. In preparing this campaign, you carried out research with young people in the UK and in Sweden. What did they throw up that was perhaps a bit surprising about why they're sexting?
Well, I think one of the most striking things from the research was just the difference between young people's views of sexting and those of their parents. So for lots of the children and young people that we were talking to, they just didn't think it was that big of a deal. They were talking about it in terms of it being quite normal for them, the idea of sexting, and something that was quite fun, you know, quite exploratory. So what we're trying to do with the campaign is educate parents so that parents can be that first line of defence, have discussions with their kids about how to stay safe, what some of the risks are of having those images out there, and how to prevent the really sort of nasty kind of cases where it does become a child protection issue.
Looking at the campaign itself, the animation, some people might think it's a little bit on the juvenile side of things. Is that on purpose, or is that just a way you think will appeal to the broadest audience possible?
What we found from parents is there was a kind of bit of a fight-flight response in terms of thinking about sexting. For parents, this is really shocking stuff, and something that they sort of thought that kids weren't doing ever. So to kind of pitch it right so that actually put it in context for parents, really. So that's the tone of the campaign.
So it's a cartoon more for adults than for children,
yeah, it is. Well, it's an animation to just kind of explain and take it stage by stage. It's a way of trying to engage, but also keep it, you know, within the context of this is something young people do, and if it happens, then it doesn't mean that you can't take steps to put control around it, manage it, report it, but also actually having a discussion with your child about the possibilities of this will help prevent it and will make them safer.
Because I guess the hardest part about this, whether it's sexting or sex education or anything that kids feel a little bit embarrassed about, a bit self-conscious about, is getting them to discuss what they're doing. Because in some ways, being secretive is another valid part of growing up, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it is. And I suppose what we're saying about this campaign is talk to your child. It doesn't mean they're necessarily absolutely immediately going to tell you everything, because that might not be a realistic view of parenting. But if you've opened the channel of communication and you're talking to them in a reasonable way, it means that when something does really go wrong and get out of control and get out of hand, they are much more likely to talk to you. And what we unfortunately know from the really serious hard end cases is that when children are made victims of exploitation, they feel really trapped. They feel trapped by the offender, because the offender can do that very effectively. So they're not going to tell their parents because they've been made to feel partly to blame for what's happening. So that's why it's so important that parents actually have a conversation about this, and you know, children feel that they can, if things get really serious, that their parents can actually understand and listen and help them take steps to make it right.
Zoe, many thanks indeed.
Thank you.